Dinosaurs were a group of reptiles that lived millions of years ago, about 65 million years ago to be exact, when they went extinct. There was a lot of variation in dinosaurs, meaning there were a lot of different types of dinosaurs. Some walked on all fours, some walked on two legs, some had elaborate frills and spikes, and others even had feathers, just like modern birds. In fact, many scientists think that modern birds are descendants of the dinosaurs, meaning that some dinosaurs might have evolved into birds. So how do we know so much about dinosaurs? Well, by something called the fossil record. Fossils are the remains of ancient organisms. A scientist that studies fossils is called a paleontologist. Fossils of animals like dinosaurs can tell us what they looked like, how they lived, how they died, and their relation to other animals, both living and extinct. Fossils aren't actually bones. They are minerals that used to be bone. A fossil is made when an animal dies and is buried by mud and sediment. Slowly, over thousands and millions of years, water seeps into the bones and brings minerals with it, turning the bone into stone. So, if fossils are just minerals, what could they possibly have to do with genetics? Well, genetics is the study of genes. Genes are short sections of DNA, which is what carries all of your genetic information. DNA is a code for what makes you, you, or a dinosaur, a dinosaur. DNA is found inside cells of living things, though, and if fossils are just minerals, they can't have any cells, right? Well, in 2005, Dr. Mary Schweitzer from North Carolina State University found what looked like soft tissue, not hard minerals, when she looked at a Tyrannosaurus rex leg bone. In fact, the tissue looked exactly like red blood cells. This doesn't mean the T-Rex bone had any DNA in it, though. Red blood cells don't actually have any DNA. But what Dr. Schweitzer and her team did find was protein. She found a protein called collagen. But how does protein relate to DNA? Well, there's something called the central dogma of biology. The central dogma is a rule that says our DNA, which contains the information that codes all of our characteristics, is transcribed or copied by something called mRNA and then turned into proteins. Proteins are molecules that help our bodies work. They do most of the work in our cells. Proteins are made up of smaller parts called amino acids. The amino acids are in sequences or certain orders in different animals. Dr. Schweitzer and her team compared the protein's amino acid sequences of the T-Rex with a modern-day chicken. What they found was that some parts of the sequences were exact matches. If what they found was correct, this would mean that T-Rexes and chickens were very closely related. This would be great evidence for the theory that birds evolved from dinosaurs. Some scientists didn't agree with Dr. Schweitzer's conclusion, though. They thought that what she was finding might just have been from contamination in the lab, or from bacteria that had been living in the fossil. But Dr. Schweitzer found another fossil. This time it was from a Brachylophosaurus, a type of hadrosaur, or duck-billed dinosaur. Once again, she was able to extract proteins from the leg bone. Other scientists from a different lab were also able to do the same thing, with a fossil of an ancient crocodile relative. So, if we have found dinosaur protein, does this mean that we can clone dinosaurs, just like in Jurassic Park? Well, not exactly. While DNA does have the information to make amino acids, which makes up protein, we can't go exactly backwards, because several genes can code for one amino acid. This means we can't know exactly which gene to make just from looking at the amino acid. Also, we don't have enough protein to have a full sequence. Dinosaur fossils are still mostly mineral, not protein. So even though we can't clone dinosaurs, which we probably shouldn't do anyway, we can learn a lot more about them by looking at their proteins, and we can learn a lot more about how evolution happens, which is pretty cool.